I forget where I read this, but a Russian statesman was criticizing America's democracy by saying, if you separate the church from the state will run the church. So separation of church and state, let's talk about that for a moment. So the idea of separating church and state, of course, this is a product of the Enlightenment. The thing about church and state, some societies will be very good having a state religion. That are religiously united. They agree on the same religion, generally speaking. If a society is, if a population of a society, of a country, has a general agreement on the religion of the land, then you can have a church, you can have a state church. You can have one because there's harmony in the society, religion-wise. But in a society where there are literally tens of thousands of different religions and different religious sects, it would be counterproductive, to say the least, to have a state religion because people would rebel. America was founded by Puritans. And the Puritans were people who objected to a state religion. They objected to Anglicanism. The Anglicans wanted all of the Protestants in England to conform to some book of prayer, I don't remember, common book of prayer or something. The Puritans said, we hate this damn book, and they wanted to burn the book to the ground, and they said that the Anglican Church was the harlot of Babylon. Before it was the Catholic Church, all of a sudden it's the Anglican Church. Puritans were people who can never be satisfied. There is a common myth that they teach people here in the United States that the Puritans were simply a people who wanted to worship God and freedom. They wanted to worship God and freedom, and they didn't want to bother anyone else around them. They came here for religious freedom. That's the reason why. They just wanted to worship the Lord. The reality is that they wanted the freedom to control other people. The Puritans did not come to the New World to enjoy religious freedom. They came to the New World to have the freedom to control and tyrannize other people. The Anglicans, and the Catholics for that matter, despise the Puritans, and they were right to do so. I remember, because for so many years I was told about the lie of the Puritans. Like, oh, they were wonderful people. I really try, Ortho Christos, thank you. They were wonderful people. They were wonderful. They just wanted to worship God. They wanted to go up to the wilderness and worship the Lord in the wilderness because the Anglicans were the harlot of Babylon who just wanted to murder Christians for no reason at all. Just decided to wake up in the morning and I want to kill Puritans. Pass the butter. Feel like just killing Puritans in the morning, sir. So England was filled with a bunch of Ebenezer Scrooges. They were all evil. They were just killing Christians, killing Puritans, whatever. Puritans came for religious freedom. That's the reason why. America was founded on the idea of religious freedom. So then one day I read a book. It was called The Beauty of Christianity by René de Chateaubriand. I've talked about this book numerous times, and I can't tell people enough as to why they should read this book. It's an excellent book. The Beauty of Christianity by René de Chateaubriand. I don't think a lot of people even read this stuff anymore. So this book was written by a Catholic. René de Chateaubriand was a Catholic, and he bashed the Puritans in the beginning of the book. In the beginning of the book, he talks about the Puritans and how they were a terrible heretical sect. And that was the very first time I really read, was it the first time? Could have been the second time. I had read that the Puritans were destructive and insidious. And I did not understand it. Then I read this book. I read an essay, actually. It was written by some guy. I forgot his name. This is a long time ago. This was like over, I want to say around a decade ago. And I read this book, and it talked about the Puritans. And it said that a common misconception about the Puritans is that they came to America for religious freedom, that for the purpose of religious freedom. The reality is that they came to America not only to do the religion that they wanted, but to dictate the religious freedom of their neighbors. I think there was a saying back in the day, Puritans would pray for their neighbors on Sunday and they would pray on their neighbors for the rest of the week. That could have been the Quakers. I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you had the Dutch immigrants who came to the New World, and you had some other, I think the Irish immigrants who also came to the New World. The Puritans were persecuting all those people. You couldn't even celebrate Christmas in a Puritan area. You couldn't. They banned Christmas. Now, what's crazy is that American Christians love to talk about the Puritans and how great they were. But then they'll talk about how the liberals want to do a war on Christmas. It's like, why are you praising the people who actually succeeded in this so-called war on Christmas? The irony of it. Like, well, the ACLU is doing a war on Christmas. It's like, well, you better stop praising the Puritans because they wanted to ban Christmas forever. And I think the Puritans eventually said something like, well, listen, mate, you can celebrate Christmas, but you can't do anything outside. No singing Christmas carols, no Christmas trees outside, no Christmas lights, none of that. No, none of that stuff. You do it all inside of the confines of your own home. We don't want to see that, okay? We don't want to see that degenerate Christmas shite, okay, mate? So, yeah, the Puritans didn't really want freedom. Where was I going with this? I don't even remember. Yes. So eventually the Puritans, they kind of like died out. A lot of them became, believe it or not, a lot of Puritans would eventually just become transcendentalists. Basically, the transcendental movement was America's first New Age movement. The idea that all religions were the same, they all worship, we all should just worship the universal God and get in touch with nature and connect ourselves spiritually with nature. That's why who was it? Thoreau, I think his name was. He went to the forest and talked to carrots or something like that. I don't remember. So the Puritans eventually just disintegrated into different sects. Some of them became Unitarian, and I think the reason why the Puritans went into Unitarianism is because they were trying to look at God almost like a scientific object. They looked at God almost like something that they could observe scientifically. So they were trying to compartmentalize the aspects of God way too much, and they made Christianity too technical. This is one of my problems with Calvinists, is that they're way too technical. Calvinists are they tend to be a very manipulative bunch of people. I'm not a huge fan of Calvinists. I'm sure there's some great people out there who are Calvinists, but a lot of these neo-Calvinists are just kind of like skinheads with a Christian form. Some of them even look like skinheads or neo-Nazis, and they'll come up to you and they'll be like, do you believe in the sovereignty of God? Yeah. So then you must believe that God chose a bunch of people to randomly burn in hell just because he felt like it. I can't accept that. So a lot of people just got sick of Calvinism and they just went into transcendentalism. They became some New Age people, and some of them became Unitarians. They just said, you know what? This Trinity stuff, way too complicated. Let's just reject the whole thing. The Council of Nicaea, forget it, throw it out the window. We are now basically Muslims.